What's up, everyone? Aaron Negler here with Cheesehead TV, ready to talk some football with my good buddy, Andy Herman. Andy, how are you on this Victory Monday?
It's Victory Monday, but our pets' heads are falling off. Everyone's panicked. Everyone's going nuts. So we have to talk through everything to kind of, temper
we do.
everything a little bit. But I can't wait.
A little bit. Obviously there's a lot of news breaking on the COVID front, which something you got to deal with in this modern world we live in, and we'll get to that. Obviously, this will affect the game going forward on Thursday night. They do have a quick turnaround, but let's look at the Washington game first, shall we? Specifically, once again, slow start offensively, although they did drive the field before getting behind the sticks. Clearly, both Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur mentioning that they're close on offense, whatever nebulous idea that is. What do you think is going on there? Because, I asked Matt in his availability today about the offensive line and how lots of different guys in and out pretty much every week, but it could be any number of things, whether it's the guys he's throwing to, whether it's the defenses they're facing, a mix of all of it. Where do you place it as far as the thing that is holding them back from being maybe not as efficient as last year, but just more efficient in general?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of just about everything. I think first of all, they've seen some ridiculous defensive fronts so far this year,
Right.
which when you're going, it's not just the fact that they've had all these changes on the offensive line, Bakhtiari being out, going through a change with Corey Linsley, moving to the Chargers, and so on and so forth, Jenkins missing games, but it's also facing TJ Watt and this incredible Washington defensive front. And just week after week, it's a new superstar defensive front that you're basically facing. And I think that has played a part of this. You heard from Matt LaFleur a week ago that they've changed the offense at times so that they've had Tonyan and Jones and everyone else that you can imagine be chipping to help out the offensive tackles at times. Yashin Ayman is playing his first game. So I think it starts there. I think getting that consistency down. And we've even seen where a lot of times it's not that Green Bay's getting beat clean physically. It's that there's been a mental or processing error up front where somebody's coming through, shooting a gap. I think it's those things that need to get cleaned up. I think it starts there. I think MVS not providing a deep option on one side of the field to have a safety have to stay honest that opens up things underneath for a Bobby Tonyan, so Alan Lazard, those sort of players. I think that's playing a part. So I think it all starts there. And then I think it's just getting in that rhythm and consistency that we saw a season ago. This hasn't felt like the Matt LaFleur sort of offense that we saw a year ago all season, but I think that starts and ends with the offensive line, and specifically a part of that is what defenses they've played as well.
Yeah, the offensive line thing is something I had kind of minimized in a sense of I thought they were playing well. I thought the protection was holding up. Clearly, they've had some issues running the ball, especially on Sunday. Where do you think that lies as far as was it just the fact that they just got away from the run? I mean, I think between Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, they had 9 attempts total between the two of them. Now, some of that is obviously at the line, Aaron changing things, etc. But overall, they really didn't commit to running the football. And how much of that is, well, that's a really tough front, as you say. And, okay, we're going to try a little bit and not really get anywhere. And so let's just throw the ball.
I think Matt LaFleur's one of his biggest strengths is analyzing a defense and figuring out where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and trying to attack those weaknesses rather than playing into the strength of that defense. From time to time, I think that can lend itself to getting away from a consistent play calling mentality of sticking with the run and those sort of things. I don't necessarily disagree with it, though. There's times where I think, yes, they need to stick with the run better. I thought they did a tremendous job against Chicago, even against the tough front of sticking with the run. I think in Washington, it was twofold. I think one, going up against Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne in the middle of that defensive line. Ioannidis is another really stout player, Tim Settle. I think that if you're going to run 20 times for 40 yards for the sake of running it 20 times, I don't know that does you all that much help. I think also part of this was circumstantial, and Matt LaFleur mentioned this yesterday as well. A couple of times where they're pinned in the red, very deep in the red zone or their own end zone, excuse me. And then they also had the 2-minute drill right before half. And so some of those things, I think, played a part in this as well. So I think it was part Matt LaFleur saying, hey, we're not going to just do something for the sake of doing it. And I think part of it was circumstance. But you would like to see, even in those situations, what I would love to see is Aaron Jones just be involved in a different way to make sure that he's still getting the football, even if it's, screens or whatever the case may be, just to make sure that he's getting involved, even if it's not handing him the football.
How nice was it to see Bobby Tonyan get involved? I mean, we've seen him kind of in fits and starts, clearly coming off a pretty poor game run blocking wise last week. Nice to see him get in the end zone, and nice to see him get involved in general. I think, there were drum beats of, oh boy, this is becoming something as far as his lack of productivity. It was nice to get that kind of quashed.
1,000,000%. And I think the big thing, not only the touchdown, but the seam route down the middle, I think was huge as well. Just to have the confidence in that and to finally connect with that. I know Rodgers, and he had missed on a couple of those early in the season. So to see that, functioning was amazing. And I think Alan Lazard, same sort of thing, right? Like both of these guys are still very talented football players. This is an offense that's predicated on Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, which means guys like Tunyon and MVS and Alan Lazard and AJ Dillon and so on and so forth are going to have to take theirs where they can get it. Sometimes you get a drive where you get 5 targets your way, which was Alan Lazard in this game. Sometimes you're going to get targeted in the red zone and get a seam up the middle like Tunyon. But other games, you're going to have to just do the grunt work and get some of the blocking responsibilities, everything like that. Today or yesterday, I thought Tunyon and Lazard got their opportunities and both took advantage of it when they got it.
Looking in the offensive backfield, we talked about Jones and Dillon. Dillon in particular, clearly coming off his worst game in a while, fumbling twice, losing one. If you're a coach, and we heard from Nathaniel Hackett talk about, the trust they have in these guys and how they're going to study it, etc. If you're a coach, how do you approach that? Do you even address it, or do you think it's, no one's going to be more beaten up about it than the player? We're going to let him work on it. And obviously, it's not something that's been a pattern. If it becomes a pattern, then we're going to kind of come in 6 guns a-blazing. But how do you think the Packers staff kind of handles that situation?
Yeah, so I'm sure that they're real about it, but not like, just pounding on the guy. Like, what the heck? I think it's, like, I think you bring it up and you go through the tape but I don't think you need to like harp on this. It'd be like, there's been no situation where Dillon's had these issues in the past. I think it's a one-off. I think, Dillon's going to learn from it. I think in an ideal week, maybe you have a couple extra ball security drills during the week.
Right.
I think what you love to do in those situations and just be like, hey, remember, guys, the reason we're doing these ball security drills this week is because AJ decided to put the ball on the ground a couple times, but do it in like a joking matter, right? Like, I don't even think that you need to say it in like the film and things like that, but just a joke. And then Dillon knows everyone else is doing it. They all get it. Yep. And you make light of it, but you bring it up at the same point. I think something like that makes a ton of sense, but they'll handle it insanely well. This is a really smart coaching staff.
What's fun for the player, I think, and I might ask AJ about this tonight on Carry the G, is the fact that it's a short week. There's no better way to kind of shake it off, get past it, what have you, than getting back on the field, right? And hopefully Thursday night offers a measure of redemption. One other note on that: how much do you think of not just about him? Because like we've seen, look, Aaron Jones fumbled in the NFC Championship game, right? Like it happens, especially in like the worst possible moments, etc. But how much of that do you think is the fact that these backs are not allowed to get into a rhythm? Like it is their usage has been pretty decent these last few weeks, but then this past game, as we were just talking about, they're barely given the ball in the run game. Yes, they were involved somewhat in the passing game. Do you think that plays into it a little bit as far as, not being allowed to get in some kind of rhythm because, okay, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, and you never really know if you're getting the ball or not?
I think it's a phenomenal point. And as you're saying this, I'm like, you asked the very first thing of like, where's the thing with this offense? I think rhythm's a huge piece of that. Devontae Adams, right. Aaron Rodgers, those guys are in rhythm. Everyone else is kind of come and go. Randall Cobb, you're doing certain things. Amari Rodgers, you're going to get 5 snaps. I think a part of that is almost from the incredible depth that this team has, that they can go 3 running backs deep. You're dying for ways. You can tell from Matt LaFleur, they're dying for ways.
They want to get Kylan Hill on the field and involved in the worst way.
They really do. But you've got Dillon and Jones in front of them, so they're giving them a couple things here and there. But if then he can't get into rhythm, which is then Dillon and Jones can't get into rhythm because Kylan, you can tell that it's almost like a detriment to this team that they have so many players that they would love to use, and they don't want to not give any time to any of them. That I think rhythm is a piece of this, and whether that results in fumbles or whatever, I'm sure it's a do your job sort of mentality. But I go back to Mercedes Lewis with Mike McCarthy because he didn't get a ton of usage under McCarthy, but you would watch and he would get like 5 snaps, and it would be like one pass block snap, and then like 2 quarters later, it would be like a run block snap, and then
Right.
like how are you in any way, shape, or form supposed to get in any sort of rhythm whatsoever? It'll be like, all right, I haven't played in like 2 quarters. Now I got to go block, Julius Pepper, whomever the case may
Right.
be. Like, how do you possibly get in that rhythm? You could see it. He really struggled with McCarthy. Obviously, LaFleur uses him more, and he's been phenomenal. But yeah, I think that can absolutely play a part in this.
Let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Uh, I mean, Joe Barry, the work they did on defense, clearly one of the more complete performances of the year, only in the sense of like, you've literally got guys who have been with the club for a few weeks. Rasul Douglas, I thought, played extremely well.
Yeah.
Jalen Smith, he's an enigma to me. Like, I think you see the athleticism. He's so close on that sack early in the game. I don't know what they're doing with him. I was confused last week, and I have no more clarity this week. I don't know what you think.
I don't think they know quite yet either. And I think they're trying different things out. Can he blitz? Can he play in space? Can he be a run defender? I think they're still trying to figure out his strengths and limitations and where they can use him best. I don't think the last couple of weeks have been super strong for Burks or Smith or Barnes, really any of the three outside of Campbell. So I think this is the sort of, platoon in baseball, right? Where you're just trying to put together a few pieces to make one solid player. And I think they're still trying to figure out, where can we use Burks? Where can we use Barnes? Where can we use Smith? What can their strengths be? And how can we make them kind of combined into one good football player? I think they'll get there. I think they'll figure some of those things out. But I think after they have the mini bye following Arizona, I think they're going to probably sort some of that stuff out a little bit more, have maybe a little bit more time for self-scout and figure out, all right, how can we utilize these players a bit better? And I would expect after a little bit more time with Douglas and Smith and Merciless and so on and so forth, that those things will start to even themselves out a bit.
Speaking of Merciless, I mean, I said guys who have just been there a few weeks. Merciless, literally there a few days, practiced twice, I think, and played 40% of the snaps.
Crazy.
Not a bad debut for a guy literally kind of thrown into the mix.
No, and it's interesting because Rashawn Gary's not somebody that's like, a ton of words. He's going to, answer your question
Right.
and, kind of get to the point. Merciless, I asked him about him and he went off of how excited he was and the leadership and things like that. It was a really great answer from him. But you can tell even Rodgers went out of his way to mention Merciless and how much he loved the signing. You can tell that Merciless is, it looked like he got a new lease on life, very similar to when Randall Cobb ran over to us on the sideline. It looked like he got out of prison in Houston and was so excited to be in Green Bay.
Right,
I'm sure there's an extent of that with Merciless as well. But I think what really allowed him to kind of do what he does best is Green Bay gets triple digit, 2 or 3 score lead in that game. And it's not, you can put him in and just say, go get the quarterback. You don't have to worry about, am I dropping on this play? Just go get the quarterback. That's when we saw a lot more Merciless. And listen, he wasn't flying past the quarterback's drop. He was showing off a spin move. Like, he just had a ton of veteran savvy. And I think that's what you expect. That's what you want. And I thought it was, the signing was already starting to pay off this past week.
Talk about paying off. How about Eric Stokes? I mean, obviously everyone sees the touchdown that he gives up, and then he comes back and I thought had his strongest game of the year. Everyone saw the 4th down stop. Obviously that's a big one that you highlight that, but overall I thought he played extremely well. And you pair him with the game Douglas had, and then you start talking about maybe they get Kevin King back, hopefully Jair back down the stretch here. Man, this secondary could be loaded for bear. Hopefully, knock wood, whatever. Who knows what happens and what the fates have in store each and every week. But I mean, Stokes, to my eyes, he looks NFL ready now. You know how a rookie can come in and it's a little too big for him and he's running all over like his hair's on fire. And you see the athleticism, but you're like, oh boy, it's going to take a while. I mean, I think this is it. He is starting to get it on the NFL level.
He really is. And I think, the first play, you'd like to maybe have him get turned around a little bit and maybe make a play on that ball. But the thing I love is that early in a game, you allow a huge touchdown, no loss of confidence whatsoever. I mean, if he loses confidence, right, on that 4th down play, which again, everyone saw, but on that 4th down play, if he loses confidence, he's not attacking that ball. He's making sure I can't get beat by McLaurin deep again. There's no way he's going to double move me or something. And you're just plain scared. And we've seen that from multiple corners through the course of history with Green Bay, where they get beat and then they're just done because they lose that confidence. it is so important that he continued to play his brand of football for 3+ quarters after that. And again, the confidence that he had to make a break on that football, come up with a huge 4th down stop and then have sticky coverage through the remainder of the game. It's just so fun to see from a rookie who was oozing with talent and potential. You knew he needed some technique work and you wondered how quickly he would be able to get there. He's gotten there sooner rather than later. And you're just drooling over the idea of Jair coming back and being able to tag team those two together, even if it's not this year, and we're hoping that's not the case, but
right.
You have Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes as your 2 starters for the foreseeable future.
It's really encouraging. No doubt about it. Speaking of looking forward, let's talk about it because, as you indicated at the top here, I mean, lots of news today regarding COVID, which is something that we just have to deal with now. And obviously, we have very little to do with it. The team is the one who has to juggle things. LaFleur indicating that they are in intensive protocols, which means there's no in-person meetings. Everything's Zoom again. And everyone has to mask up when they are together, blah, blah, blah. They have to keep their distance, what have you. They will be doing a walkthrough tomorrow. Now, the big one, obviously, is Davante Adams. We know Joe Barry is also on the has been diagnosed with COVID per reports, and he will most likely not be making the trip to Arizona. We'll see how they go about with the play calling. You'd have to think that's probably Jerry Gray,
Yeah.
But it could, I mean, who knows? Maybe they split those duties up, what have you. But without Davante, and I know there's an outside chance because he's just on the list, which means that's not specifically that he has COVID. It can mean he has COVID, or it can mean that he has been had close contact with someone with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. So, but let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, that there is no Davante on Thursday night. Now, it's sitting out there. It's just the truth, just stating fact that they have not lost without Davante under Matt LaFleur. Now, that is because they have done a great job of diversifying their attack because they're forced to. Against this Arizona defense in their building, how in the world does Matt LaFleur go about drawing up a game plan on a short week to try and attack Arizona without Davante Adams?
You start with Aaron Jones, right? That's why you have 2 guys like that are playmakers within your offense, where if one has an issue, you can lean on the other one. And I think this has got to be a heavy Aaron Jones game. I think we talk about pony formation for fun sometimes, but we saw
ain't fun this week, baby.
No, right?
It's a necessity. It's life.
We saw a little bit of it where I love the play where they got 2 stacked receivers to the side. They put running back in motion, keep the other one back, and just kind of read the defense. Now, usually Davante's on the other side, so the defense has to kind of double his way as well, which really opens that up. But even still, I would love to see a little bit more of that to kind of keep defenses off balance. But feed Aaron Jones, feed A.J. Dillon. I don't think you want Green Bay's defense on this field a ton on a short week with Kyler Murray and this explosive offense. So I think ball control and making this a little bit of a shorter game actually would go in Green Bay's advantage in this game. So I think you have to start there. But then, listen, I have literally zero doubt in Matt LaFleur coming up with a game plan sans just about anybody. He knows how to attack defenses in a way that is going to be advantageous for his offense. He will come up with things that, maybe they haven't run before, but they'll need to out of necessity this week. And I think they're going to put up points. Whether it's enough and whether they can get enough stops will remain to be seen. But I personally, frankly, I love games like this. These are some of my favorite games in the world.
No one expects them to win. Yeah, it's them against the world. Yeah,
it's the best. And frankly, as Packer fans over the last few decades, we have very few games like this where you go into it with little expectation. And I think this is just one of those games where I'm not saying, it's completely like playing with house money, but if you're missing a lot of guys on a short week in Arizona, undefeated team on the road, it's going to feel like you're playing with house money. And I have full expectations that Green Bay is going to respond very well to that.
I totally agree. And it's funny because we talk about the offense and their game plan, et cetera. You mentioned the other side of the ball having to deal with Kyler Murray. It's daunting to look at their wide receivers, and you consider the limited bodies the Packers have had at corner. That's a matchup that obviously favors Arizona. But to me, the one real X factor here that I don't think will get a lot of run during the week. Well, maybe it will now that I bring it up, but it's Devondre Campbell revenge game. I mean, Don't forget, this guy has something to prove to the teams, including this one in Arizona, who never let him be Batman, always made him be Robin. And now he's getting the chance to be Batman, and he's been outstanding.
And listen, there's no Packer linebacker in the last, I don't even know, maybe since Nick Barnett, that I'd rather have having to spy a quarterback like Kyler Murray at times and have an athletic linebacker in the middle of the field. I mean, I still, Aaron, have nightmares at times of trying to watch Hardy Nickerson tackle Michael Vick in the open field in a playoff
Hardy
game.
Nickerson.
Not good Hardy Nickerson.
Wow.
40-year-old,
End
no
of the
knee,
line, Hardy Nickerson.
Hardy Nickerson.
Oh, I remember it well. Yes.
21-year-old Michael Vick, whatever he was, at the
Yikes.
4'140", I swear, at that point in his career. Watching Hardy Nickerson chase Michael Vick is still in my nightmares to this day. Devondre Campbell being there and not having to, experience something like that again is a huge godsend. And I'm all for Devondre Campbell revenge game.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, Andy, I can't
hold
thank
on,
you
hold on,
enough.
hold on. One more thing.
Oh no. What you got, Herman?
I know I've been on Twitter long enough to know a cry for help when I see one. So we have to address this. We have to address this.
Oh, no.
October 24th, a tweet from Aaron Nagler that says Premier League is so much better than the NFL, and it's not even close. I know a call for help.
100% true.
Here's a picture of the NFL and Roger Goodell. Where did they hurt you? Where did they?
Right. Let me explain this to you, sir. This is was what's called a live tweet. You'll notice the timestamp there is during the football game. What that's in reference to is the operation of the league as it pertains to the game they are stewards of, right? Like we, the collective football world, 5 hours to determine what just happened that we all saw with our own eyes over the stretch of 3 inches of grass. Meanwhile, the Premier League goes, oh, is the ball right here? Okay, let's go. And they're on with their lives. I love American football. I love the game of football. I hate the NFL. The NFL, as a steward of the game we love, is atrocious. The Premier League has its issues. No question about it. Don't talk to me about VAR. I get it. But as a steward of the actual game, Premier League is worlds better than the NFL when it comes to it.
I have no disagreements with you on anything that you just said. And
that's all I'm saying.
A beautiful game. Love it more than just about anything. But that clarifies things for me quite a bit. I was just making sure that you were still in a good place.
I'm here. There are certainly areas and parts of my life where I've been hurt, but that is not one of them, sir. So you have nothing to fear in that regard. We will still be talking football each and every week.
Good to hear.
That's my solemn promise.
Me talking Premier League as we go Liverpool and Chelsea on opposite sides here may not be as fun. And I don't actually remember the last time I actually caught a Liverpool game. So it's going to be a little bit difficult on my end.
So we'll stick to football. It's fantastic. Andy, can't thank you enough, man. And I guess I'll probably talk to you on Monday because on Friday, I suspect, win or lose, it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster this week. So we'll wait till Monday to recap Thursday's Arizona game.
Sounds great. Can't wait.